The Covenant have a set of military aesthetics that are quite alien to us. The UNSC is the main faction with which the player identifies, and so represents what is essentially the American perception of how a strong military force should look. The UNSC has the standard set of military aesthetics that are familiar to us. Olive drab camouflage, tight quarters, everything existing for the sole purpose of functionality, without room for much else. The Covenant, on the other hand, make room for spiritual aesthetics and comfortable empty space, in addition to using a set of colors that we would tend to consider inferior or silly, mainly due to their association to femininity. Because the Halo series depicts these underused colors being used by the powerful Covenant, for a rare moment the colors achieve a status of coolness not often seen.
The chief peered down the corridor. The bulkheads were violet, or was that lavender? Strange patterns marbled the material like the oily sheen of a beetle's carapace. Whatever it was, he didn't care for it, especially on a military vessel. But who knew? Maybe the Covenant thought olive drab was for wimps.
First of all, Halo is an American product intended to be received by an American market. In American culture, red is the danger color. It's something to be feared. It's the color of blood spilled on the battlefield. It's the color of bloodlust. However, the Covenant are a different matter. While made up of several species, the lead warriors have been the elites for a very long time. As elites bleed purple, this gives potential insight to the Covenant characteristic of coloring military items purple as well, using the color of the blood of their most powerful military species. The outside of Covenant warships is purple, a fine color for them to use to communicate their hostility. The reasons for the other colors aren't clear, though the pinks might result from an evolution of blue to red. The interiors of Covenant ships often have patterns of different shades of purple put together with dark blue, as well as the bright blue that shines from designs interlaid in the walls and floor, such as in the Phantom Troop Bay. While most Covenant vessels and vehicles have their exterior colored purple, the Halo 2 Scarab and the Spectre make notable exceptions, being colored blue and magenta respectively. It should be noted that the Scarab later had a makeover and appeared in Halo 3 as a blue-purple blend more reminiscent of the usual Covenant aesthetics. The Halo 3 variation is the one seen after that. Further transition to the color red is not seen in architecture or vehicular design, but it is seen in the elite armor. The as-of-yet uniquely seen claret armor of the elite warrior Uzetaham marks a transitionary stage between the bright magenta of the Spectre and the more muted red of the elite major armor. However, while the Covenant architecture displays a clearly patterned theme in its aesthetics, in contrast, the elite armor colors appear widely different. These armor variants with their stark contrasts serve as blatant indicators of rank or particular area of talent, such as stealth. In our culture, these colors are not associated with the feminine as are the purple-pink variety, but are rather loud and unusual and unbefitting of soldiers. The colors primarily used by the Covenant are associated by our culture with weakness, not to be taken seriously. It is therefore quite a twist on the usual way of doing things when the course of the Halo games leads us to regard these colors as not inherently representative of weakness, in fact turning the cultural meme on its head as we come to associate them with images of strength. The sight of Phantom and Spirit dropships, both royal purple, comes with apprehension on the more fierce difficulty levels, as can the pink Spectre loaded with brutes. Even some of the weapons themselves are colored the way we generally associate with weakness. The Covenant Carbine, for instance, has a bright purple stock. Because this part of the gun is the highest and farthest back, it is also most of what the player sees while wielding it. It's not a half-bad weapon either, often something that the player would intentionally pick up as something useful in the fight. The Needler is a bizarre gun that fires bright pink needles that track their targets like missiles. Though it is generally a weak weapon because the needles move too slowly and loosely for them to be very effective, the similar needle rifle from Halo Reach is a strong weapon that uses the same kind of ammunition. It uses bright pink ammunition and isn't weak. In addition, the Covenant Energy Sword, arguably the most powerful melee weapon, also has a bit of pink visible in the inner blade area in Halo 2. For the first time, pink is not a sissy color, but is rather a color of strength. A Covenant warrior can look mighty cool wielding a weapon adorned with a color generally associated with femininity and thus weakness. I find it liberating to mow down grunts with such weapons, taking the stigma away from the colors, and making it purely a matter of how useful the weapon is in a fight, which is how all the weapons should be judged. This said, it is worth noting that the manner in which the stigma is removed does not touch the sexism at the heart of the matter. What Bungie has done is cause colors generally associated with femininity to instead become associated with masculinity. There are no female elite characters present, so the characters to wield the weapons are strong elite males.
Kill me or release me, parasite. But do not waste my time with talk.
Brute ships, staggered line. Shipmaster, they outnumber us 3-1.
Then it is an even fight. I care not for your little life.
It takes a completely alien culture to allow the colors to become associated with strength, and even then the alien culture has to be like ours enough for the perception of strength to remain intact. With the advent of the changing of the guard, and the elite alliance with humanity, much of the aesthetics we have come to associate with the Covenant and the elites have changed. The elites show their separatism by using band armor and their allegiance to the UNSC by painting their phantoms the green color humanity expects from its warriors. Meanwhile, the Covenant have adopted the brutes as their primary warriors along with their brutal sense of aesthetics. Brute aesthetics are far more of what we associate with traditional masculine strength. Their colors consist mainly of grays and browns. Instead of the smooth and sleek designs of the elite-style weapons and vehicles, the brutes like everything really rough, bulky, and with spikes. While their armor shares a similarity with elite armor in both physical design and use of the same vivid colors to indicate rank, they are otherwise depicted as powerful savages with a love of brute strength, and are quite different from elites. Through the creation of an alien culture, Bungie has managed to take a set of colors imbued with the ideological perception of inherent weakness and turned it around to carry an ideological perception of strength. They accomplished this through keeping the fictional culture similar enough to our own that they were able to effectively portray the concept of strong warriors, with whom the colors sequentially became associated.